Welcome back to the Fly Culture podcast with me, your host, Pete Tigers. This one's being recorded on the morning of the BFFI in early February. You have now my permission to start to get excited about the new season that's to come. On my home river, the Tour, we open on the 1st of March. So we'll be down there no matter what, keeping our fingers very, very tightly crossed. But it's just a nice tradition to be out on the river, make a few casts, and you never know, some magic might happen. But for this episode, I'm going to be your roving reporter. And so we're at the BFFI. I've left Devon early this morning, driven up, had breakfast with Warren at Gloucester Services, which is most excellent. So we've travelled up and we've arrived at Staffordshire. For our overseas listeners, the BFFI is the British Fly Fair International, and it's the major fly fishing show in the UK now. And there aren't many of them. If there are any more, I'm not aware of them now, but this is the premier one. And it's a lovely meeting point. And I'd certainly noticed that post-COVID, that the energy, the excitement for the event had grown substantially. The feel of the place was really, really good. So for many years, I'd worked on trade stands. And the last 2 or 3, Warren and I have just popped along and caught up with people. And it's a really nice event to be able to do that. The venue is the Staffordshire Showground, and the way that this is set out, where you walk in, there are 3 big rooms, and we have tackle, fly tying material, stuff that you can pick up in the first 2 rooms, and then the third one is the fly tyers, and then the presentation room as well. So there are people doing presentations about all sorts of different subjects as well, which are fun to listen to as well. And so what I'm going to try and do is catch up with some people, get a sense of what they're up to, how the show's going and what's happening, and a little bit more. But I really, really hope you enjoy this episode. It's going to be interesting for me, that just a series of interviews, as ever, completely off the cuff. So I hope you enjoy this one.
It's on the English one.
So I've just got here, we've walked in, I've managed to buy my copy of Peter and Don's book, and I bumped into Iggy, who's come all the way up from London. He fishes the Wandle. Iggy, is this your first time at the BFFI?
No, it's my second time. I came last year with my friend, but yeah, it's good fun. I love coming here, because meet all the good people.
And are you here to buy some stuff?
Yeah, definitely. Use the birthday money today.
And you're one of our younger fly anglers, and it's fantastic to meet one of them. What does fly fishing mean to you?
So it's not always about catching the fish, I think. So being there in the moment, and like my dad's always saying, I'd rather be out and blanking at home and not fishing. So it's, even if I'm blanking, it's better to be out than at home.
And your dad said you just qualified for England as well.
Yeah, so I'm on the World Champs squad for England, so got World Champs in July in Idaho, so that should be fun.
Idaho's an amazing place. I hope you get to see the snake as well and get to fish that. And are you going to buy anything today?
Yeah, looking for a new reel, for the competition stuff for the French leader, so that should be fun. But I might buy a new glass rod if my dad lets me, but don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see if he's feeling generous. But.
Well, you're in good luck, because if you listened, I know you came out and said that you listened to the podcast. My friend Warren, who builds the glass rods, is standing right next to me. So you might have to have a word with him at some stage. But it's been lovely to meet you, Iggy, and enjoy the show. Best of luck with your competition career. Keep catching those fish in the Wandle, and it's wonderful to meet already my first person that I've bumped into, a young fly angler at the BFFI. Lovely to meet you today, Iggy.
Thank you. Have a good one.
I've got to go and drop a rod off, but I've bumped into 2 reprobates. One of them's fresh from doing a talk, Jan Hobot, and Adam Price Hunt, who look like, frankly, they're up to no good at the moment. But I'm sorry I missed your talk. How was it? Was it fun?
It was. There was a few sounding issues. There was a lot of echoing, reverberating into my ears, and it was hard to actually think before I spoke. So and now I'm just bumping into anglers I know everywhere. So it's a good event actually. Good event.
Is this? I assume you're here all the time, every year, are you?
I'd say this is probably the fourth time I've been. So I started coming after COVID, and I'll tell you what. This event is the event in the country, in my opinion, and it's growing every year. And I think a lot of places go wrong with pricing and things, but I think here they've got it spot on, and everyone travels from all around the country to come here.
And how's the Mighty Y looking? Are you getting ready and excited for the new season? What's to come? Have the grayling been good?
Yeah, it's been. I mean, we've had a few storms this winter, and it's been a very good season this last year. River keeping has become a full-time job, as in 12 months of the year. I'm looking at doing the club now, sorting all that stuff out, and it really is full on actually all year round now. There's no breaks for us river keepers.
And have you got another talk to do tomorrow, perhaps?
Yes, on again tomorrow morning, 10:30 to 11:30. If you are coming, if not, you'll have to catch me somewhere else.
You're going to have to give me the one-to-one talk because I'm not here tomorrow, but I'm sure it was fantastic. It looks as though the talks are being really well attended as well.
Yeah, everyone's. It's your worry actually when you're doing a talk that no one comes, but I think 2 minutes beforehand the seats just filled, and I think it just hit me. God, I've got these people are going to listen to me. So but I think everyone's having a good rest. Sit down and listen to the speakers.
Fantastic. And Adam, how's it feeling out here? It feels really busy. There's lots of people around. It's this great start to a new season, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a really good epicentre for everyone around the country. I bump into so many people that I otherwise would only ever meet through online. We make plans for the year to go to different areas and fish. It's really nice. I think I get the feel this year that there's quite a lot of the younger demographic here. Either that or I'm starting to become part of the older demographic. But it's nice to see people really enthusiastic. It's such a good show. The tackle on show is really high quality. It's nice to see, handmade tackle. We've got fortitude rod, Eden-made nets, and the likes. And seeing those small retailers at a big show that is also backed by the big manufacturers. It's really good to see. Really good to see.
Interesting what you say about the age demographic as well. And I was collared pretty much from walking in by a young lad that I've spoken to, really young, loves fly fishing, just qualified for England. That's good. It feels, and I often ask on this podcast how fly fishing is feeling, how it's looking, but it feels in a good place right here now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it feels to me that as a whole in younger generations, there's a shift moving towards spending time outdoors again and enjoying nature. And it's nice to see that a large group of those are looking at fly fishing as an interesting hobby to get into. I think once those younger generations make that first step to come to shows or get involved, the community really picks people up. When I started fly fishing, in early teens, as soon as I started joining clubs like the Peacock and fishing for other clubs over in Wales, the membership and the fraternity really lift up younger anglers, and it's a perfect place for them to be.
Beautifully put. And are you seeing that by membership for the Peacock as well? That's, I guess you've got a robust waiting list for it too.
Yeah, I think I've always worked hard on trying to get youngsters into angling and giving them those opportunities, along with learning how to look after rivers from a wild stance, basically. So, I'm seeing those applications coming in, the guys that show how they're spending their days on the river through social media, and that kind of attracts that younger angler's attention.
That's great to hear. Well, guys, have a wonderful show. It's great, as always, to bump into you. So we've just stopped on the wading water stand, and I've dropped off a rod back to Raymond Rainbird, and he's involved with a brand that I've known for a long, long time that hasn't been around in the UK for quite some time, Thomas & Thomas. And it's thrilling to see you bringing them back into the UK. Many congratulations with that. That goes alongside all the other bits and pieces that you have, Shilton reels, Douglas rods, amongst other things. You must be thrilled to have that in the portfolio as well, mustn't you?
Yeah, we're super excited to have Thomas on board. We've been in discussions with the team there for some time now. They're quite particular who they want to partner with, and I'm very grateful that they've taken the opportunity to partner with me. So we now have the exclusivity to the whole of the UK and Ireland, and I believe Iceland as well. They've launched some phenomenal new products over the last 12 to 18 months, and of course they're renowned for their high-end quality, fit and finish. We're just excited to have them part of the team, and it really is drawing a lot of anglers at the moment to our stand, and we're seeing a lot of old Thomas & Thomas customers be excited about it, to see that they're back in the country again. So really happy to have them on board now.
And testament is seeing the amount of people coming onto the stand, like you say, waggling the rods, looking at the rods. And that's the great thing about these shows, isn't it? That you get to see people, but you get to see the whites of the eyes of your end user, and you're able to actually tell them about your product, which is so much better than social media or anything else could actually do, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the whole face-to-face approach to it is far better. To see the excitement in people's eyes when they pick up a rod, or the surprise in their eyes when they pick up a rod and expect to see, to feel a heavier rod and end up being ultralight, or, just being able to tell them the stories, the backstory or the history of a rod brand is completely different just to doing an online sale or, having a discussion with distributors, because most of our distributors, are aware of the brands. So having that face-to-face with customers is key for us, and we're just glad to be here and show these new brands off. It's going well.
Best of luck with that. I hope it gets every success that it deserves. Have a great show.
Thanks very much, Pete. Hope to see you soon.
Also on the stand helping out is friend of the podcast, Damien Robinson. Had the most fantastic story. It's worth a listen if you've not listened to this episode of the podcast, where he headed from Staffordshire to Montana, then back again. It's a beautiful, beautiful story. He's also an engineer and came up with the Living the Dream nets, or took them on from the original design. How's it going, bud?
Yeah, really good, Pete. Really good to see the show from a different side. I usually come as a customer, and I had the privilege to be here on the Wading Water stand today.
Yeah, the amazing thing for me, I know I used to work on the stands, and coming as a punter, it means I don't have to be nice to everyone now as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really good to see it from a different side, though, and there's so many people here and so many people coming onto the stand wanting to know a bit about the Thomas & Thomas brand that we've just brought on. And it's just great to see everyone. Obviously, Saturday's the busier day than the 2 days, so it's really hectic today, but it's just great to see so many people here supporting the event.
Yeah, it's a great get-together, and we've just seen Jeff Hadley walk in the background with this fluorescent pink top that, I don't know if does he wear that when he's fishing as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Jeff's bringing a new brand into the UK, and it's highly fluorescent fly fishing, so keep an eye out for Jeff. You won't miss him.
And what are you doing with the nets at the moment?
Yeah, we're doing really well with the nets at the minute. Mallon and Green are selling me out of stock at the minute. We've just produced quite a few for them with special branding on. And then the website's going really well. So, yeah, I'm just grateful for everybody to still supporting Living the Dream. It's beyond what I ever thought it'd be, and it means so much. So I appreciate it.
Many congratulations with it. Have a great show, bud.
Thanks, Pete. Great to see you.
The lovely thing about this show is that you bump into so many people. And we're standing with IB, with Snips, her dog as well, just chatting. I've been molested by Karl Humphries as well, who I'm going to go and bother shortly. And I bumped into our designer, John Ogborn. We sort of tried to arrange to go and have breakfast together, but he's been working hard and hasn't had the chance. I've also, and there's a little bit of a plug coming, but I've also sent the artwork across to him. He does the magic of designing the magazine and getting it ready. That's the spring one that's going to be coming out. And I just said to him that usually when it goes across to him, I get a little bit of a bollocking from him, where the image resolution's wrong or the images aren't linked. But I haven't had my bollocking yet, mate.
You haven't, but, brace yourself. It's coming. It's coming. I haven't seen it yet.
I think that's the reason. So I'll keep the book down my trousers for the time being. But how's the show feeling to you, bud?
Well, I came on Sunday last year, and there's got to be 3 times as many people here. I couldn't believe it. It's a certain demographic, and we're here with IB, and she's one of a handful of women that are around, even less people of colour, but even so, there's a good buzz. It's nice to see so many fly anglers out, and yeah, it's great. It's a good vibe, definitely.
And it feels to me as though the vibe has improved dramatically. Not improved, that's the wrong word, but it resonates more loudly since COVID. And I think since that what we've had is that this is the excuse to get the season underway, to get people together, to see people. And Adam Price-Hunt was saying just shortly that, people that he only knows online, that he gets to see them as well. Do you think that post-COVID thing there is something good that's come out of it, that people get to see each other and catch up?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's the ideal place for it. I mean, for me, the pre-season will always be my local club AGM, which is very detectorist. And, I ban my wife from coming. She's also a member, 'cause I know she'll make me giggle, because it's just hilarious. But this, being my second one, I can see this becoming definitely another pre-season fixture. It feels like, gets the juices going. I've just met Kerry Thomas for the first time, having messaged him many times for around trips to Wales. So great just to meet someone like that in the flesh. We've been talking with him and Parth for a good half an hour about all the fishing that we all love. So yeah, it's just ideal for that, isn't it?
Absolutely. And what you say about IB, and she'll know that I've always shouted loudly about what she's done for fly fishing on so many levels, not just for the female population of fly fishing, but fly fishing generally, and people like that need to be shouted about. So if you're listening to this, you'll know IB and Andy's YouTube channel. Make sure you watch that, and there's a lovely challenge that they've done over the winter. But yeah, IB doesn't want to come on at the moment, but just keep doing what you're doing, IB. It's fantastic. And the other half of the deadly duo, Andy Buckley, is here, guide extraordinaire. I feel that what he and what Stuart at Alba are doing is just fantastic. Also, we've talked about the YouTube channel, but what I love as well is proper reviews. And Andy's just done one. I messaged him independently just to say he'd reviewed a Witchwood nymphing rod, and I just messaged him to say, what a fantastic review. And you really go into quite a lot of depth. And I think for potential buyers, because you're not aligned with anything, you're able to say what you want to say as well. So do you enjoy doing those, mate?
Well, you're absolutely right with that, Pete. Our sort of unique opportunities that because of our independence, we can talk about things in real terms to real people rather than the sort of, the sort of more contrived stuff that maybe you don't feel like you're getting the full truth out of. So yeah, really enjoy making them. We try and make as many as possible. It's great for both of us because it means that every time we go out fishing, we're using a different piece of kit. So from a personal side of things, it sort of sharpens you up as well. And by being able to use as much kit as we do, I think it gives us a good idea of what's on the market. We can make easy comparisons between brands, between rods, between price points, and hopefully at the end of it, we come out with a review that people are going to really enjoy and put some value on.
Yeah, they're definitely worth a look if you've not seen them. Go check out, as I've said before, the IB and Andy channel on YouTube. They're really, really good. How's the guiding season shaping up, bud?
Yeah, really, really good. So we're coming off a good winter, actually. Last winter was an absolute horror show, and everyone's talked about the 23-24 winter being a bad one. But actually, this one has been relatively good. We've had those storm systems, but we've had gaps in between, so the rivers have dropped, the water's cleared out. It's been cold at times, but the fishing's been relatively good. We've had some big fish, good numbers of fish at times, and we're shaping up for a really nice trout season as well. Bookings are strong. Mayfly's been booked out since before Christmas. People are already really excited about the early trout season. You get a sense of it in the inbox. You've been there. You know what it's like. You turn into the new year, and all of a sudden, the emails start trickling in. People are dusting off the trout tackle, and we're about ready to go, aren't we now?
That's fantastic to hear. And yeah, I remember that. I'm going to be making a comeback, I think, with casting. I'm not going to do guiding anymore, but I'm going to do some casting at some stage. But yeah, I remember sort of it was 2nd, 3rd, 4th of January. It's amazing, isn't it? It's like the switches or the calendars flipped over and people go, right, I'm ready to go now. I'm going to book my fishing for the year.
Every year at the end of December, I look at my diary for the following year and think, crikey, I'm a bit worried about how quiet this is. And by the 2nd week of January, I'm looking at it and thinking, crikey, I'm going to struggle to fit people in on some of these venues now. You sort of get used to it, don't you? You become more at peace with it. My business is now coming into its 10th year. You sort of get a feel for when those bookings come in, so you chill out a bit and you sort of rely on the fact that people are going to dust off the trout tackle, get ready for the new season.
Nice, mate. Well, all the very best. You don't need any luck with it because you're knocking the ball out the park. So have a great one, bud.
Cheers, Pete. Have a good show, mate.
So I've managed to pull up a chair with friend of the podcast and all-round angling superstar Howard Croston. Howard, great to see you. I wanted to chat about, just yesterday I was watching the film that Fulling Mill put out about yourself, and I'm not a competition angler at all in the slightest, but what came across to me from it in such a massive way was your dedication to it and how you approach an event and everything that goes into it. We've only seen part one so far, but I found it really inspirational and I really enjoyed watching it. Was it fun to film?
Oh yeah, it was. I mean, it was interesting. Definitely, it was. We filmed over 9 months, so as you can imagine, it was quite a lot of a degree of intrusion, obviously, because we filmed at the house and all over the country and stuff. But it was great. I mean, the guys we shot it with, Patrick and Dominic, were superb. I mean, they really were. They went way over and above what you would expect. And yeah, it's come out really, really well, to be fair, I think. And, the trepidation that I think anybody's going to have with sort of giving that level of access, to be honest, was, we overcame that pretty quick. And, it was enjoyable to work on. It's nice to actually have something to look back on and, to remember from the Worlds especially,
And also from the point of view that you're under the pressure of coming into a major competition, plus you've got the pressure of people sticking a camera in your face. Was that difficult?
Oh yeah, I mean it was less than ideal, let's put it that way. But at the end of the day, that's the reason why we did it, because there's never really ever footage like that from a World Championships. So I'm fortunate. I've been there and to some degree done it. Not It's always nice to continue on and stay as competitive as you can and do better every time. But I just thought, on balance of things, looking back, I would have regretted not doing it. So we decided to just go ahead and film it.
And for anyone who's not seen the film, A, go and see it. But secondly, your man cave in the loft, that's pretty special, isn't it?
Yeah, no, the loft conversion, that helps keep me married, that does. Keeps all the rubble out of the house. So, yeah, it was, but I mean, to be honest with you, I'm going to move down out of there and into the garage next, I think. So, it's not big enough anymore. So, yeah, little change of location in the future.
But the lovely thing about that as well is that, and the film as well, that we get an insight into you as a person, and we see the pictures of the places you've been. I remember the number plate from Abaco as well, those sorts of things as well. And we get a real proper snapshot into your life and the very many things that you've done along the way as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit of a hoarder and a collector of things like that. So luckily I've got memorabilia from pretty much everywhere I've been, and I keep adding to it. And it's just nice because the memory triggers, when you go and pick bits of things up. I even keep a few airline tickets from places I've been, just things so you can look back and remember it,
Absolutely fantastic. And you're you're working on the Hardy stand at the moment. I still believe firmly that you're probably one of the most preeminent rod designers that we've had in the last few decades. And you're still working closely with Hardy and the work that you're doing there. What have we got to look forward to from you this year?
Well, there's quite a lot of new stuff in the pipeline. Some of it will launch this year, some of it won't be till next year. It's not quite decided yet when some of it's going to launch, but we have done some new nymphing rods which are coming out at some point, which are quite innovative. And then we've done a lot with reels recently. Again, we've got a new Euro nymphing reel, the Avaron, and some new rods called Marksman, which are very light. So really all, nice improvements on the existing stuff, to be honest. Lighter in weight, still very durable. And improved design, so yeah, there's always something new.
And I'm very much looking forward to episode 2. It's been great as always to catch up with you. Thanks so much for talking with me, bud.
No bother, mate. Nice seeing you as always. Hope you have a good show.
So I bumped into friend of the podcast, contributor of Fly Culture, Dan Osman. Dan, you said you hadn't been for a little while to the show. How's it feeling today?
Yeah, it's good. Nice to see familiar faces and some new ones as well. And there's a lot of people about.
Yeah, we've been talking a little bit about the sort of post-COVID feel of it all and how this has become now a central hub for people to get together, to meet up and kick off the season, and for people that you only speak to online as well. It's a nice way to get to see them, isn't it?
Yeah. I wanted to come up last year, things didn't align, and had a bit of FOMO when I saw all the pictures of everyone enjoying company and catching up ahead of the season, so I had to get a bit of that for myself this year.
And are you going to buy some stuff?
Yeah, I've come with a list, so I tried to behave this year, but no doubt temptation will get the better of me.
Yeah, I'm getting suckered in already. I bought books, I bought T-shirts, and stuff that I didn't even intend actually picking up. But it's very easy to get caught up into that frenzy, isn't it?
It is indeed, yeah.
We've got one of your pieces in the upcoming edition of Fly Culture that people can have a listen or read of actually as well, can't they?
Yeah, I can indeed, yeah, and don't shoot the messenger.
I think it's nice that, we can easily be fluffy and everything else, but it's good to bring up issues that are current to fly fishing as well. And when readers read it, they'll see that as well, won't they? That we're all talking about these things, but sometimes we've got to speak on them on a wider basis, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, I'm awfully conflict averse. I don't want to upset anyone, but fly fishing's a beautiful thing. Wild fish are a precious thing. So you see stuff happening that doesn't quite respect that, and it makes you think, what's that about, and then it sets the brain wandering, and one thing leads to another, and you write a piece. So that's that.
Well, I think it's a great piece. We've got another piece about fish farms as well in there that I think people will be interested to see the inside track on as well. So, well, have a great show, Dan. You're planting trees tomorrow on Exmoor, and that really is fishing, isn't it? That it extends beyond this, as people will see. It's not just about the fish, it's about the environment and the habitat, about so much more, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And Jan gave a really nice talk earlier this morning talking about what they've done on the Y with that and moving over from a stocked fishery to wild fish, and the importance of the whole system, and actually how angling, if you do think about what the fish need and you make that right for the fishing, then you're going to bring along everything else with that.
Fantastic, Dan. Have a great show.
Yes, Pete.
So a nice thing about this trip is that you do these sorts of laps and you bump into friends again that you saw a few laps ago, and then you find that you spot a friend that you know really well. And I'm currently standing on the Aardvark McLeod stand with Pete McLeod. Pete, 20 years in the business.
Oh God, don't say that, Pete. You suddenly make me feel incredibly old. Yes, 20 years.
You're looking fantastically young still. Has it been a fun ride though?
What are you after? Why are you trying to flatter me like that? It's been a great ride. It's had its ups and downs. The 20 years in travel has certainly been pretty interesting. We've suffered Icelandic volcanoes, we've suffered economic crashes, we've suffered COVID, but yeah, we're still here. We remain bigger, stronger, leaner, and the business is good.
And where is hot at the moment? Because obviously you've got the finger on the pulse of places. A lot of people are talking, of course, about Icelandic trout now as well. That's come on and slightly easier to get to than New Zealand. But where are the new hot places that you're seeing?
New hot is always, there's hot. Hot would be the Seychelles, I think. I mean, everybody's still fairly obsessed with giant trevally, as I am. I think we're going to see more of a swing back towards the Caribbean this year. There's more people interested in Mexico and Belize, and Venezuela's back on the radar again, and that is fishing unbelievably well. As you said, the trout fishing has been interesting. I think over the last 5 to 10 years, the education of the UK market in trout fishing abroad has really begun to have an impact. So we are seeing far more fishermen travel to Iceland to go for trouts rather than salmon. They're hunting char as well. And our European destinations are really beginning to grab a foothold. So you've got Slovenia, which has always been a good destination. We've done quite a lot in northern Italy, in Trentino and Val di Mastolone, which has been really interesting. It's kind of like Slovenia was a while ago, but a lot less pressure. But you've still got all the main species there. And that's been very interesting. And then from that point, we've also got a lot more going on in Spain. So the Pyrenees, that's also become more of an interesting fishing destination, because I think in the UK, a lot of people want to go and do a break. They don't necessarily want to do a full overseas international trip. And there is a market for those people who are looking to do a long weekend. And we've seen a lot more of that coming to the forefront recently.
That's great to hear. And yeah, like you say, the trout aspects of it. Do you get the sense as well that people don't need or feel that they want to travel quite as far as they might have done previously?
Yes and no. There's always going to be your core of people who are going to go and do the Argentinas. They're going to go and do the Seychelles. They are going to go and do those seriously epic, amazing trips. Mongolia, places like that. But there is definitely a growing market in those who are looking to do a short break. And I think it's a lot of guys are doing both now. So rather than just doing one big international trip, they're kind of trying to feed their habit a bit more, which is quite interesting. And I think that's happened after COVID, funnily enough. But people were locked in for such a long time that they really wanted to get out more. And I think it's really refreshing to see that.
And chalk streams?
Chalk streams has remained strong. It's on our doorstep, so we're always going to offer it. We've got some phenomenal new beats on the upper sections now. But that definitely was our bread and butter during COVID. When we could not sell international fishing, we were out being river guides. And that business has grown in its own right now, which before it was trying to keep us going, and now that is a separate entity and it's doing really, really well.
That's great. Thanks for filling us in with that, Pete, and congratulations on 20 years, and I hope there's many more to come.
Thank you very much, Pete, and it's been great to share that entire journey with you.
We've wandered around and I've managed to book in for a 1:45 session of abuse with my good friend Karl Humphries. Karl, it's great to have you here. We're on the Mackenzie stand. You're weaving your magic on here, right?
Hopefully, yeah, it's been really busy. Loads of people here today. Lovely to see you here all the way from Ashton, Cromer, Delawangam, whatever it is, something like this. And unfortunately, you've not bought the better half, the pretty one of the duo. But yeah, it's a great show at the end of the day, Pete. And lovely to, like I say, lovely to see you here.
And it feels really well populated, doesn't it? And the feel is really positive. It's really good, isn't it? It just feels great, doesn't it?
We're anglers, you know. We're all going to talk about fish we lost, how big they were, which is always going to be a lie because they get bigger in the pub, don't they? You know, but it's just a gathering. It's a social gathering as much as anything else. Loads of dealers, loads of distributors, loads of guides, loads of people from different countries. It's what it's all about, isn't it? Health and well-being. And a load of rubbish talked, which is great. That's what we're all here for.
And, you know, I've been around the block and you've been around about the same, probably slightly longer than me. And I remember when I'm trying to be polite, man. And I remember doing my level 2 exam when it was a real pain in the arse thing to try and pass. And I managed somehow to scrape through. And I met you, and I remember you were on the stand there, and I just passed. I nearly passed out, having passed. And then you said, come and have a seat. And I thought, wow, I'm sitting with the big boys now. And then subsequently, when I took my AAPGA exam, you were the person who said that I was good enough to pass it, which I feel greatly, it cost me a lot of money, clearly, to get through that. But you were the person to say that I was good enough caster to get through it. So it's always lovely to see you. And I'm still in such awe of you as an instructor as well. And obviously a fisherman. I know we've fished together down in Devon. But yeah, I remember those days at Trentham Garden really well.
Yeah, and I mean, look how it's progressed from Trentham Gardens to here. And you've been awfully sweet, you know. I'm just an angler, you know, and we all want to throw a big stick around with some rope attached to it or some line because it's pleasurable at the end of the day. But I was chuffed that you were taking the exam, and even better still when people pass. It's great to see the elation. You know, I wasn't too comfortable with swapping shirts with you, you know, and you're standing here now without a film crew because you know I've got a face for radio, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, we've had some lovely times. You know, I've been fortunate enough to stay with you and have hospitality and, you know, throw a few loops, lose a few fish. That's the life, isn't it, at the end of the day?
He's one of those men who never loses fish. He just seems to find them no matter where they are, and is a phenomenal angler. And I also would say, well, we touched on casting. Wanted to talk about that a little bit because you organise the casting events for this, and you have for a number of years. Is that a fun thing to do?
Yeah, it's great, and you try and zoom it up. I mean, I would like to see more lady anglers volunteering. We have Glenda Powell here this time, but there's only 2% of lady anglers in fly fishing. And, America is way higher than that. Why can't we achieve these numbers? It's not as if I'm not decrying coarse fishing, but there's no yucky baits or things like that. You can go out have a good time. I know there's groups of ladies that get together, but for me, have a look around now. There's a few ladies, but it's usually a male environment. And it would be nice to see, I don't know, a few more kids, a few more ladies, taking part in a sport, a passion, an addiction, whatever you want to call it. But it's just fun, isn't it? You're smiling away now because you know that we're on the same hymn sheet on that.
You're absolutely right, and hallelujah to that. So you let people go do their thing, do you? And they do their... How do you put the demonstrations together?
Right, so there's loads of people. We have loads of great organisations here, from people from the FFF, people from AAP, people from Gaia. And what they've done historically, I mean, we've always had trouble picking or choosing people over it, but people come in touch with us now. We've got people casting out there from the FF, from no qualifications whatsoever to AAP guy and everything else, instructing. Over the years, I mean, some of the best fishermen I've seen are possibly some of the worst casters, and the other way around. So don't think if you're a good caster, you're going to be a great fisherman. It doesn't work that way. It's about that brain power, and in my case, being very, very lucky. Whereas you always used to tell me, you're better off being good looking than lucky. So I'm on a loser, aren't I?
As always, mate, it's an absolute pleasure to see you. Thank you. I think we'll have to do another one of these. I know we did one at Mallon and Green where we recorded it. Let's do one together because there's so much. Yeah, road trip in my van. We'll do that, mate.
Cheers. Pete, safe journey home. Say hi to Emma. Enjoy the ambience of the fair. I'll catch up with you soon. Love you loads.
I've thoroughly enjoyed my abuse from Karl as always, and while I'm on the Mackenzie stand, it would be very rude of me not to speak to Scott Mackenzie. Scott, I was just talking to him off mic, and you'll probably know that he was a record spey casting champion, and I was just actually telling him that it was me who measured his championship winning cast, and I was sitting in the boat and I was sitting there quite happily watching things happen and watching the casts, and then this cast suddenly went flying past the boat, and I thought, yeah, this is a bit of a long one. I didn't really see who cast it, but then it turned out it was Scott, and it was a record cast. Scott, it's great to have you along, and that was an amazing moment.
It was. That was a record that stood for 110 years. It's one of the longest sporting records of all time. It was Alexander Grant set the first ever world record in 1895, and we broke it at the Game Fair in 2005. It was. So, fantastic. It really was. And I didn't realise it was you that measured it. So, thanks very much for that. And yeah. But that seems, what's that, 20 years ago? It's amazing how time flies, it really is.
It certainly goes incredibly quickly, and it's been wonderful to see how your brand has gone from strength to strength and continue to grow. You have great people around the brand as well, which is carefully picked, clearly. What have we got to look forward to from Mackenzie for 2025, though?
Well, we've got a lot of new rods. We're pioneering the use still of graphene. We were the first company in the world to use graphene and fly rods, especially double-handed fly rods. But we do all sorts of rods, from a 8'6" rod right up to 15-foot rod. We got a full range. For this year, we're working on Euro-nymphing rods and predator rods. That's the two markets we're focusing on. We've got a lot of new fly lines coming out, both with single-handed lines and double-handed lines, multi-tip lines. So there's lots. We try and do 1 year where we do a lot of rod development, and then another year with line development. And this year we've kind of been doing a bit of both, some rods and some lines. But it's fantastic, when we launched the FX1s back near 12 years ago now, we were on the BBC Worldwide News saying how, we're going to revolutionise fly fishing, and which we did. And I thought, how do we top this? Because that's a big benchmark to set. But we have with FX2 rods. We've had the last 3 tackle tests in trout and salmon. We've all been top marksmen, best rods in test. So no, very exciting times ahead for us with our new FX2 carbons. And also with the clothing, we're now developing a lot of clothing. We've got the Atlas graphene layering system, again with the graphene clothing. So we're really pioneered the use of graphene in all our products now, yeah. So
it sounds as though you never stop, and it must be fascinating and in the development aspects of it, but also when you've got your name on those rods, there's also a pressure to keep that standard incredibly high, isn't there?
There's always a pressure. We'll never be beating the customer care. We've got probably I like to think the best reputation in the whole industry, and that's with lifetime warranties and everything that's out there now, that's a hard market to compete in. But we've got a very, very good reputation, which I make sure is kept right. So if you've got a rod or a garment or anything with my name in it, God forbid you had a problem, I would make sure it was sorted. That goes without saying. And there's a pride and a responsibility of selling brands with garments or products with your own name in it. So no, rest assured, if you get something from me, you'll be well looked after in many ways. Yeah.
Great work, and many congratulations, and just keep doing the good thing.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're pioneering the use of now with the clothing. That's a biggie for us. We just got the jackets out with a wee delay last year. Zips of all things, we couldn't get the very good quality Waikiki zips. Long story, but we got them now, and the jackets are in, and they're sold very well today. So, good times ahead. So, yeah.
The really nice thing about this is that I guess people have seen me thrust this thing in front of people chatting, and I've just bumped into Dennis, who says he listens to the podcast every week, so shout out to Dennis and all the other people who have popped over and said they're enjoying this podcast as well. It really means the world to me to hear that from people and to hear that they're really enjoying it too. So I've appeared on the alternative tackle stand, a place I always love to be. It's just a fascinating thing that they're doing with fishing tackle and putting people together, and the collective, as Mark calls it. And I bumped into Dusty from Livingstone Rods, and it's really cool when you suddenly bump into someone and they say they listen to the podcast, and he was just telling me that when he's in his workshop that's what you're doing. And Dusty, it's great to meet you.
It's nice meeting you as well. Yeah, so my name is Dusty Smith. I own Livingstone Rod Company. I manufacture blanks and rods from scratch in Bozeman, Montana.
That is a wonderful place to be, and is it the dream that everyone assumes it is?
Yes. Yeah, it is. I mean, you know what, not this time of year. It was -4 Fahrenheit and a blizzard on the way to the airport. But in a couple of months, yes, when it's not snowing.
It is a wonderful place. Do you, for people listening, and we've had a number of friends from Montana on this podcast, is there somewhere, I guess we don't want to hotspot too many places, but is there somewhere that you love to go fish?
Yeah, absolutely. The Yellowstone River and the Yellowstone National Park. And what people don't appreciate about Montana is you can fish attractor dry flies all day long and they eat. They're opportunistic. And it's really just fun walking around, throwing what most people here would consider nonsense for flies and watching trout eat them.
That sounds about perfect to me. And tell me, why glass rods?
I think it's the right tool for the job. If you're walking around medium to smaller size streams, the new, especially unidirectional S-glass is very responsive. It's light. It's not what you would expect from the glass from the 60s, 70s, 80s, or what have you. They're very relatable, and they protect tippets, and they're infinitely more durable than a modern carbon fiber rod would be.
And it's that nice sort of gateway between bamboo and graphite, really, isn't it?
Oh, it's perfect. I'm a former mortgage banker, and I used to have a very large bamboo collection, but the financial crisis is very real. I got rid of most of my bamboo rods, and then I discovered Mark Steffen glass rods and started building on some of those blanks, and it's a revelation. I think Now, a taper is a taper. A great rod can be made out of graphite, fiberglass, or bamboo, but I feel like it marries the best of graphite and bamboo together. So you get the lightness of the graphite, the hollow building, but you get the durability of bamboo and that more relaxed feel.
And this is going to sound a bit of a clunk to everyone, and apologies for that, but I've been chatting with my friend Jason Borger, and we were talking about rod prices and saying how expensive rods are now, yet you can pick up beautiful rods like this that are a lot less and fantastic fun to fish with too.
Yeah, so, the large brand name rods that are charging you $1,200 now for their XYZ resin and fiber content or whatever their marketing says, or you can get stuff that's bespoke, from like me or the guys at Alternative Tackle that, and we're small artisans. I'm one of the few people in the world that make blanks from scratch by myself in a one-man factory. And, what a lot of us are more obsessed about is the taper. How does the rod feel instead of just, how do we market these things? So, yeah.
And you talk about taper there and being a casting geek myself as well. That is of great interest to me. And I often say I'm not really, of course, when you're buying something from an artisan like yourself, I know the cork's going to be beautiful, and looking at the rods now and the way that they're wrapped is fantastic. Plus that you're actually manufacturing the blank itself. But yeah, taper's everything, isn't it? And that process of bringing and designing a new taper must be a time-consuming thing.
It is. But it's also the best part about the job. Because I work in a factory by myself, there's a lot of factory-type jobs I do every day. And designing or being asked to design a new rod it's like a privilege. It's so much fun. And yes, it's taper. I'm obsessed with them. That's hence owning a fly rod company. Always looking for the perfect fly rod. I haven't found it yet, but, there's a reason to keep trying.
The search continues, and I always imagine these workshops that you're working in there and you've got that blank, you've probably taped the rings on the new blank just to see how it feels, and I sort of imagine you open the doors and casting it, smiling, and then walking back in again.
Yeah, and then I'm in a commercial little area. I've got my own warehouse and office, and then I'll go out to the grass behind it or in the snow in the parking lot. And then people ask me if I have caught anything yet. And I'm like, oh, wait, I'm doing it wrong? But yeah, it's great. It's the favorite part of the job is test casting something that's brand new. You have an idea in your head, or when your clients, wonders if you can do it, and go out there and do it. And it's either great, good, or bad. And then you go on to the next steps. It's the design's the fun part of the job.
Well, that's wonderful to get an insight look into it, Dusty, and it's wonderful to hear this little podcast that we put together reaches our friends over in the States too.
It does. It helped that he had Sandy on, and Sandy's, I admire Sandy a lot. I don't have a pro staff, but when I have a question about one of my tapers, I ask Sandy. So
that sounds fantastic. Well, Dusty, it's been fantastic to speak with you today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So the first thing I wanted to do when I got here was buy my Peter Hayes and Don Stasica book, which I've got, and they very kindly signed it for me. I don't know what they've written in there, so I don't know if it's abusive or not. But if you're a regular listener to the podcast, then you'll know how loudly I shout about Kokibundu books. And I'm thrilled to be chatting with Paul Morgan, the man behind Kokibundu books, this afternoon. Paul, it looks like another great show for you.
Yeah, really busy. Of course, it's nice to have some really good new books to launch. So we've got, as you say, Peter Hayes and Don Stasica here. We've also got people like John Roberts, who's known to everybody, and Nick Fitton's new book on downstream wet fly fishing. So it's made a really busy morning.
And we often said, as somebody brings a magazine, that I was told I was a fool, but we still seem to be, 7 years later, still seem to be getting through and getting out to people and growing with people. Print's not dead, is it?
No, indeed. And really, John and Peter's book is a good example. Plenty of people have had the chance of looking at the e-book, but they're thrilled to have a real solid book to take home and to read by the fire.
And you enjoy these shows. Is this one in particular? I know you visit a fair few of them, but this one's a lovely start to the year, isn't it?
It is, and this is really the main fly fishing show in the UK. It's miles ahead of anything else, and we really have to be here. I used to do a lot of game fairs, a lot of smaller shows, but they're pretty hard work. So I put most of my effort into this one show, really.
Well, many congratulations and keep doing what you're doing. And if anything from this podcast, there is one thing to take away from it: buy your books from Cocky Bundu Books. Paul has not asked me to do that. You know I always shout about them. But Paul, keep on doing what you're doing, please.
Smashing. Thanks ever so much.
So it's lovely again, like I say about this show, that when you are chatting with people, walk away and then you catch somebody out the corner of their eye. When I was trying to catch them earlier, they were at the fly tying department and had thousands of people around them looking for information, tips, hints and everything else. Gareth Lewis, great to catch up with you. How are you, my friend?
As always, mate, fantastic. I'm absolutely shattered. It's been a busy day. And it's, 2:30 and first break of the day. It's been that busy.
And I know we've touched on this before, but when you're tying at these events, do you get to time any flies?
Well, there's a mix. So it could be catching up with people. Quite often we see the same faces year on year. And it's only every 12 months that we really get that opportunity to catch up. So it's nice. But then, so far today I've tied 4 flies. And the last one that's currently in the vice has been sat there for an hour and a half. So, it's been busy chatting, catching up, talking, fishing, and maybe a couple of flies thrown in. So, it's been a good mix.
That's 4 more than I was expecting. And when you have people come up to you, are they sort of looking for advice, or is it a combination of catching up, or do they want to sort of say, well, how have you tied that? Is there that instructional part of it as well?
Yeah, again, so a good mix. So a couple of people today, usually there's, I like this pattern, I've seen it maybe on social media, or how have you done this technique? And then we'll just go through how maybe I do it. And again, the focus kind of always comes nicely back to where we fish it, and then we're off talking about rivers and trout and all sorts all over again. So yeah, there's generally a good mix of bit of tuition, a bit of instruction, obviously, then just chatting about where the fly works nicely, and then back to the trout. So yeah.
And is it okay to say that we're starting to get excited about the new season?
24 days, start the season, not that I'm counting, but yes, it's March 3rd. And already hopefully thinking, unless we get washed out again this year, fingers crossed we'll have marsh browns on the water on open day, and hopefully a couple of trout. So yes, they've been missed sorely.
And have you got a plan for where you're going to go?
I've already booked the week off. So of course I've jinxed that now, and it's going to rain and worst floods in X amount of years. So I will be on the Usk for open day, maybe pop across to the Mono, but that takes a month or so to warm up, really. It's a later season river. But yeah, we'll see how the weather is, but definitely a lot of Usk action, hopefully. So fingers crossed.
I will keep my fingers crossed for you too. It's always great to catch up. Hopefully we'll get to fish together this year as well. And I'm going to be heading to your neck of the woods as well. So it'll be good to see you, but all the best for what comes tomorrow as well.
Yeah, enjoy the show, and awesome to see you as always.
So my about 3rd circuit. She's been busy all morning, all afternoon, but it's great to catch up with Marie Mallon from Mallon and Green. It's been a busy day for you, isn't it?
My goodness, it's always great here. BFFI never disappoints, and yeah, you're absolutely right. From get-go, we have been full on the throttle, so yeah, we're super pleased.
And is it still that time of year where people say, right, I need something new for the new season?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, we always try to bring something new to the table here at BFFI as well. So I think some people are coming to catch up with us, some people are having a look at what's new, and some people are just replenishing. Everybody's ready for the season now, and that vibe is just wonderful here. It's always a really good kickstart to the season.
It sounds it, and it's been really well populated. Once again, it's later in the afternoon now. It's starting to thin out just a little bit, but it's been really well populated, hasn't it?
It's been super well populated. I think, so we've been here for now, this is our 3rd year. 1 or 2 are saying, oh yeah, it's as busy as last year for us. I think it's been a little busier. Always a lovely spot for us, of course, because we get gridlocked. We've got the bar within a reach, and so, yeah, we get a lot of people congregated in this area, so we've been, super busy.
I was just thinking, the bar's about 10 feet away. I guess, do you sort of lure people in with holding rods, and waders and things to see if they come in. I guess when they've had perhaps a beer, perhaps two, that perhaps they might spend some extra money, might they?
Well, this is a real cruel corner, isn't it? You've got the drawer of the beer, the drawer of the fly fishing toys. I mean, what's not to like? Serious damage to the wallet. And probably mine by the time we've finished for the day. I've been reliably informed by a colleague that beer o'clock is indeed 3 o'clock.
Fantastic. So there's so much stuff here to see. I can see vision reels, I can see Patagonia jackets, Yeti stuff everywhere. What else have you got here for us?
So we've got all of the names. We've got Rio, we've got Sims, we've got Patagonia, we've got Fish Pond, we've even included Dry Road this time round. We've got some brilliant offers on with Yeti. We've got a free prize draw to win a Rody 24. We've got some new rods as well, the Diamondback rods, which are the nymphing rods. We've had some great response to those already. All our favourites, the Oros, Arex, and we've got some personal stock as well. So we've got the tools from Brian Clark, who's actually on one of the stands here tying, and also with Grayling Society. He makes those beautiful wood and brass tools. We've got the mayflies tied by the legendary Philip White, and so we've got a little bit of everything, really.
That's fantastic to hear. And as ever on this podcast, I'll always shout about supporting tackle shops. You sell stuff online, yeah?
Absolutely do. So mallonandgreen.co.uk, and of course direct to the store, social media, and of course here on our events when we go on the roadshow.
Fantastic. Well, Marie, best of luck with the show. It looks like you're probably going to have to restock by the looks of it.
There are some things hidden under tables, thank goodness.
Fantastic. Everyone, Damon Valentine in the house. How are you, my friend?
I'm really good. I'm tired. Early start this morning to get up here, but that soon washes away when you catch up with old pals and you see all the amazing tackle here. And it's just nice. I look forward to this every single year because I get to see people that I haven't seen in a year, and also I get to meet new people, which I have done today. It's been amazing. So. Yeah.
And as a filmmaker as well, does that mean it sort of lends itself to opportunities for you to meet people? Because it must be a good format to do that and speak to them in a face-to-face basis.
Yeah, for sure. So I've had conversations today with people about work that I've done in the last year where they've approached me and said, I really enjoyed your film, or I really enjoyed the work you did for so-and-so, and that sparks conversations. It's very good. And look, at places like this, in the job that I'm in, you've got to come to things like this, because if you're not here and you're not seen, then you're not in mind for things. So I've had some fruitful conversations, so let's see where they go. But first and foremost, I'm just here to catch up with people and just have a good time and have a day off from being a dad, which is quite nice.
Excellent. What are the fishing plans this year?
Well, I think I have managed to wangle a rod on a salmon syndicate on the Avon, which is 35 minutes from my house, and I can go whenever I want. So for anybody who knows the Hampshire fishing scene, going whenever you want is quite tough because of the way the fishing works. But I can. It's half an hour from the house. I can go and try and find that elusive salmon, maybe some sea trout, and definitely some brownies. Half an hour from the house and not be bothered by anyone. So that is a big win for me. I'm also luckily. I'm going to go and fish the Borgie in April, which is my 40th birthday present. So I'm from my wife, which is probably the only time I'll get to do it. So I'm making the most of it.
That sounds absolutely fantastic. And from a salmon point of view as well, on a chalk streams, slightly different because you're not reliant on a water lift, really. From what I gather, and I remember for Eat Sleep Fish shooting something on the Dorset Froome, and the chap only went and caught salmon for us fresh off the tide, that they work slightly differently in that the fish poke in, and the ones that are in front of them, they poke them up the river a bit further, and it sort of works kind of, in theory, a bit like a conveyor belt in some respects.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I was an expert on the subject, but because I've only lived in Hampshire for 5 years, but fishing on the Test and the Itchen, the fish stay in the lower reaches for most of the season when they come in, and then they wait for that water in October, November, late September maybe, and that's when they really push up. So for me in Winchester, I really don't see a salmon until about sort of November, December. So should give you some clue, and that's only about 17, 18 miles from the tide. So, yeah, the fish hang back and stay in those lower reaches, which makes those lower end fisheries quite sort of expensive to fish, as we both know.
Fantastic. Well, you have a wonderful season, and I hope and I look forward to seeing all those pictures of those salmon later in the year.
I hope so too. Thanks, Pete.
So that's it. I think we've seen just about everything. Warren and I are just having a wander back to the car. What do you make of it, Warren?
Yeah, it's great show again. I mean, I think I was just talking to one of the lads there, and they were quite surprised. It was their first time, and they were quite surprised how big it was. And I think on reflection, it's probably a lot bigger. When you go there year after year, you forget just how much is under one roof. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it again. Yeah.
And well, I can see you're carrying something, but did you find it hard to keep your wallet in your pocket?
Not too bad. I hooked up with a couple of gents on the alternative tackle stand, Dusty and Nico, and picked up a couple of blanks for them, which I must admit was pre-booked. So I'm walking away with 4 nice blanks I can get about building now. Other bits and pieces, I tend to lean towards the more sort of out there specialist stands, which are there rather than the fly tie and stuff, and which I thoroughly enjoy. So there's probably half a dozen stands there, which I think we both make a beeline for, which is the nice part of the show for me, just to catch up with a few. Same as everybody says, I think, familiar faces and have a good old natter, rather than go to every single stall and religiously go to everywhere.
And for you, was it kind of nice? I know I was chatting to some guys and they said that they had one of your rods. That must be always pleasing when you meet an end user.
Yeah, really nice, actually. That was quite a shock. You said you'd spoke to Simon Fowler, who obviously I spoke to a few times but never met. So that was nice to bump into Simon, who was very complimentary. And one of his mates was there, interested in a rod as well. So yeah, from that side of things, it was nice.
And so, yeah, we're going to make the long journey back again, but I'm sure we'll chat about the things we've seen today. And yeah, I think my takeout from it is that it's a lovely excuse to go along, to see some cool things, to see some nice things, to see some good people, to catch up with good people and support our industry as well. And that's always really important to me as well. So that's been fun. I hope you've enjoyed this little snapshot into what goes on here. Some of the people are here, just meeting people that are part of our community, and that's really, really important too. So this has been another episode of the Fly Culture Podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this one. As ever, never any charge for these. We just want you to enjoy them and keep on listening. So to all those people as well, especially who came up to me, and there were many, many of you today, thank you. I'm so pleased you're enjoying this. And of course, there's going to be plenty more coming soon. This one's dedicated to you. Thank you.
The Fly Culture Podcast is brought to you in association with Fly Culture, a quarterly published magazine owned and run by fly anglers. When it comes to fly fishing, we've got you covered.